Welcome to Comfort Zone, a podcast all about pushing your hosts, well, outside of their comfort zone. I'm Christopher Lawley, and every week I am joined by two intrepid co-hosts. First up, Matt Birchler. Matt, how are you doing?
I am feeling revitalized today.
Ooh, I'm loving the big words. We're also joined by Neeleon. Neeleon, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
No big words for us?
Nope.
Okay, all right, moving right along. Well, we have an interesting show, but before we get into it, we had a little bit of follow-up I wanted to do. Neeleon, you texted our group chat like right after we recorded the last episode about something, and I just want to take a minute to say, somebody on this podcast was right, not Matt. But you tried something with your AirPods Max. How did it go? What'd you try?
Oh, you're springing this on me, huh?
Yeah. I literally wasn't going to put it in the doc.
Yeah, after the show last time, I tried to listen to a bunch of albums in spatial audio. And turns out they're not so bad anymore. I think they're pretty good.
Yep, as long as it's mixed right. And I'm telling you all, if you haven't listened to Dark Side of the Moon in spatial audio, you haven't lived.
Yeah, that one is impressive.
Yeah.
I've stumbled upon a bunch of other ones that are really good. The Daft Punk one, the 10th anniversary edition.
Ooh.
So good. Yeah.
Can I be? I know this isn't exactly a safe space, but I've revealed quite a bit on this podcast, so I'm going to reveal something else.
Chris, you don't have to say what you're about to say.
I don't like Daft Punk or
Oh,
any of that
no,
kind of
you said it.
What?
Any of that kind of like EDM electronic. Hey, I can hit the space bar on my MacBook Pro music. I'm not a big fan of it.
Oh, Chris. Oh, you have such an education to be delivered.
All right, that's a show. See you next week. Bye.
Yep. Hey, this is all about getting us out of our comfort zone, being honest with who we are. I canceled my therapist. You guys are my new therapist now.
Oh, no.
I didn't sign for this.
No, this is I'm not getting paid for that. Next week I am bringing a listening party. We're going to listen to Random Access Memories all the way through, and Chris is going to smile the whole time.
It is your challenge this week, and I'm really hoping I just didn't convince you to change whatever you had planned. So
Listen to Daft Punk. Appreciate it.
I don't even like the Tron Legacy soundtrack. Even though I like that movie, don't even care for the Tron Legacy.
Oh my God.
What?
We're 2 minutes in and it's chaos.
This
Yeah.
can't be. What?
Yep. Nope. Anyways, moving right along, we have some we have some items we brought. Not challenges just yet. We'll get to that in a bit, but we have some stuff we'd like to talk about. And Matt, you're first up in the dock.
All right, so I wanted to bring Daft Punk's latest album. No.
I mean, it could be their greatest album. It doesn't mean it's a good album. I mean, every
God.
band has
Oh
a
my
greatest
God.
album, but it doesn't mean it's a good album.
What are you saying? Stop talking. Oh my God.
Oh, I can hear the subscribers dropping off. Oh no.
I can't believe this.
I'm so getting canceled for this.
Okay. I'm going to do you a favor, Chris, and move us off this topic. So, I am bringing a brand new app, which I'm very excited to be able to do. I'm bringing the new version of Unread, which is a news reader, an RSS reader for the iPhone and iPad. And with version 4, they have a Mac app now. And that's made it very interesting to me. As someone who uses RSS, never stopped using RSS, and use it across all my Apple devices. So this was very exciting to see. Do you guys use RSS at all? Or am I alone here?
Big RSS person. Typically, I go with Reader, but I've been using, I've been trying out a lot of these different like one inbox apps for all these different sources. So like Feed and like, I guess I can talk about this one because the developer's been talking about it publicly and like put out public test flights. But the next version of Reader is going to have not just support for RSS, but all the different things like YouTube, Mastodon, Reddit, all those kinds of different things. And I've been playing with those, but it's very early days for those apps, and a lot of them don't have some features and stuff that I rely on.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, same here. I love Reader. It's my favorite RSS app, and it's been the case for years. And I'm really excited about the new version. And I've been checking out Unread on the Mac because I will be reviewing it on Mac Stories next week. Actually, it's probably going to be out by the time you hear this.
Oh, this is the second time at least on the show this has
You
happened.
keep doing this to me. I don't care. You bring this on yourself.
I've been using the beta across all my devices, and the big exciting thing to me is the Mac version, because I don't think there was a Mac version previously. And Reader, like you guys, is the app that I've preferred for many years. It's consistently been the best, the quickest for the way I use RSS. I think it's awesome. But I got invited to this, so I wanted to try it. And I know people swear by Unread. Like, there are people who absolutely love this app. So it's never quite clicked with me as much as Reader. So I wanted to give it a shot. I put it on all my devices, and I really like it. I don't know if I'm going to stick with it after the beta. I really do like Reader quite a bit. So we'll see. I'm kind of torn right now. I don't know where I'm going to land. But there's some really nice things here. And I think on the big change here is the Mac version, and the Mac version is not a Catalyst app. It's not a Swift UI app. It's a full-on like AppKit Mac app, so kind of a more traditional Mac app, separate from the kind of universal things that they do or that they're really pushing lately. And it feels so fast. It feels so good to use. I'm really, really impressed with the Mac app. And yeah, it basically has feature parity with the stuff that's on the other apps, just in a Mac wrapper, and feels really, really good. And I've been using it to do all my news reading for the past couple of weeks. It's really nice. The one thing that's really stood out to me as like the thing that is useful for my use case is that I subscribe to like 100, 200 RSS feeds, and I get hundreds of articles in my feed every day. So I'm not reading in this app. I'm more using it to triage. And I'm saving them to a read later app. And they have this awesome feature called article actions in Unread, where you can configure a specific read later app. So I have Readwise Reader connected to it, but it also supports Raindrop and Pocket, and I'm sure there's a couple other ones I can't remember right now. But when you enable that, you can basically just like double tap on any article and it instantly saves it for you. On the Mac, there's an easy keyboard shortcut to just save it. So I'm just kind of like flying through my list of articles, and if something catches my eye, I just double tap it on my iPad and it's saved instantly, and I can keep on going on. And that's quicker than Reader, which, as far as I can tell, doesn't have something quite like this. I'm using the share sheet in Reader, so I like...
Yeah, you have to use the share sheet in Reader.
Which is fine, right? But it isn't as quick. And like, again, I sometimes don't look at my feeds the whole day, and I have 200 articles, and speed is of the essence when I'm going through that. So I really do dig it. There's a couple UI decisions I don't love. It doesn't... I like to go through, I have like folders set up for like Apple stuff, movie stuff, and like I have numerous feeds in each of those folders, and I kind of like to go through each feed. Like it'll be 9 to 5 Mac, and then Mac Rumors, and then like iMore or whatever. And I like to go through like one feed at a time, so I remember, and Mac Stories, of course. Mac Stories is in a different folder. We don't have time to get into my RSS sorting, but it's just a whole hour on its own. But yeah, so I think Reader does a few things better still. Reader has better keyboard shortcuts, in my opinion. But Unread, this is the first time in a long time it's clicked with me in a way where I could see using it. And Chris, related to what you mentioned about a new version of Reader in the works, that's kind of an all-in-one app. I've been using that as well, and I am really skeptical of it, and it doesn't feel like an app that I would ever use. So I'm worried that Reader 5 is going to, which is the current version of Reader, is going to just kind of trail off. So we'll see. It's still in beta. It's still early days, but my early impressions were maybe not the app for me, but it feels great. Like it looks great. Like that developer is really, really awesome. But I'm not sure it solves my use case.
Yeah, I wouldn't read into it too much. No pun intended there. I literally did not mean to do that. But the big thing with that is it's very, very early on. Like you don't even have support right now, or the beta of Reader, the next version doesn't even have support for signing into like RSS services like Feedbin or Feedly or anything like that right currently. So like I think there's going to be a lot of things that change in that. If you want to try one of these all-in-one apps and you don't want to like go scouring for test flight invites or something like that, you can try feed, and it's feed with 4 E's. So feed. That's like the third time I've made that joke, and I love it.
It's better every time.
I've reviewed this app on Mac Stories, by the way. It's really good.
I like it. I like it a lot, but it has the same issue that the Reader test flight has for me, is that you can't sign into like Feedly or Feedbin or one of those RSS services that syncs your RSS stuff between, like, has a backend for RSS, because so I use Feedbin and I really like that. So what that means is if I can use different apps on different devices, and my read and unread stuff will sync. Like the articles I've read will sync over to the other devices and stuff because it's using a universal backend. But yeah, I'm guessing Unread. I haven't used Unread in a very long time, but I'm guessing Unread does have support for like Feedly and Feedbin and stuff like that, right?
It does. It would be a non-starter if it didn't. So yeah, syncs with all the big ones you would expect. I use iKnowReader, but all the ones you mentioned are supported as well. So yeah, it does all of those. I should mention the pricing as well. It is a subscription, so I think it's going to be $3 a month and $30 per year. So definitely a lot more than like the $10 one-time payment that Reader is. But yeah, I always like to mention the pricing so people kind of know what they're getting into. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And like you said, with the like using a syncing service, I know some people like to just use their app to sync it. But I like using a third-party service because if I like Unread on the Mac, but I like Reader on my iPhone, and I like something else on my iPad, like I don't have to use the same app. I can use whatever's best everywhere. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I really like using a syncing service.
Nice. So other than like article actions or anything like that, is there any like specific features in Unread that makes it like stand out from other RSS apps like Reader or whatever?
Yeah. So one thing that's really nice is it handles truncated RSS feeds really nicely. So a few of the sites I follow, just when they have an RSS feed, but the first the feed only includes like the first sentence or two from the article, so you can't really read it in there. Reader has a way to like hit a button and it'll try to load the web page and then parse the text for you. Unread lets you either always do that, so it always gets the full article text if there's a truncated feed, or you can do it on a per feed basis. So you can specify on specific feeds like, hey, always pull the full text for this one. So I like that because it's not a lot of sites I follow. I feel like most people don't do that anymore, but there are a couple and they're annoying and they kind of just disappear. I forget which ones they are when I'm using Unread. So I do like that quite a bit.
The one thing that I love about Reader is it has support for a feature called Bionic Reading. And Bionic Reading, it's kind of this API that developers can plug into their apps. And for people like me with ADHD and other neuro atypical things, you guys know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to be, anyways. I love Bionic Reader. It helps me focus on what I'm reading, and that's one of the things that the fact that it expands partial RSS feeds, that would be killer to me, because right now, like, I'll see long articles, but because I'm only getting the first one or two paragraphs, I can't use Bionic Reader. And there are Safari plugins to use this, but it kind of breaks the web a little bit. It's nice just to have it in a standard dedicated reading app. So my question is, does Unread have Bionic Reader or some feature that's similar to that, or do you even know what that is?
I do know what it is. I'm looking it up. It does not seem to be here.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that I absolutely love in Reader, but again, not a lot of, especially big blogs, they don't support full RSS articles anymore because, they need the clicks.
They do. This is one of the things I respect the hell out of about The Verge. They still do full RSS. It's wonderful.
Do they?
You feel like they would be one of the ones who wouldn't, but yeah, totally works. I read everything.
Really? I thought mine.
Yeah.
I'm double checking. Maybe I have a different feed or something.
And Mac Stories too.
Yeah, I know Mac
and
Stories.
Mac Stories,
does.
of course. And Birch Tree. No big deal.
Yeah, Birch Tree.
Okay, see, I must have a different feed or something, because the Verge feed that I have literally has 2 paragraphs and then a continue reading button at the bottom.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
I must have to swap out the feed for something else then.
I
The
will,
RSS feed.
if I can find it. This is a note for show notes, Matt. I will try to find my feed and put it in the show notes. I might have, because I saved mine like 12 years ago.
Well, you should be able to just go into what I forget. What did you say you're using? I know Reader for as the backend. You should be able to just go in that and be able to copy the feed out of there.
This is a good point. I'm on it.
Cool.
But yeah, pretty good app. I don't know if I'll stick with it forever, but I've stuck with Unread longer than I ever have, which I think is pretty awesome. So we'll see. And I'll be looking forward to Neilian reading your review when you scoop me again.
Well, hey, you're the one that controls when this podcast goes out. I mean, you could scoop her if you really wanted to, but it might be breaking an embargo.
Yes. We'll see how reckless. We'll see how reckless I get.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's not do that then. All right. Well, any other stuff you want to talk about on this?
No, I think that's good. Yeah, we'll have a link to it in the show notes. But yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Awesome. Well, I'm up next in the document, and I am back on my video game searching for the perfect controller for a very specific use case.
There we go.
Stuff. So, like I've mentioned in this podcast and my videos, I have a bunch of really weird travel happening this summer. Just like a bunch of small trips and a bunch of things where like I'm going to either be spending a little bit of time in hotel rooms, I'm going to have some downtime and just need something to do in places that aren't exactly like touristy. So it's not like I can just go to a museum or something like that. Like I literally won't have anything around me. I just need to kill some time. So with emulators coming to the iPhone and iPad, I have been getting back into playing just a ton of older games, a ton of Game Boy games and stuff like that. And I've just been having a ton of fun with that. But I don't like the on-screen controls of something like Delta or Arc Emulator or whatever. Like just on-screen. Like I like having physical buttons to press. I like that physical feedback. So I have been looking for a controller that could just live in my backpack for travel, that I don't need to think about packing. It's literally just going to live in my backpack when I'm not traveling, when I'm not, like, I'll never use it at home kind of thing. And I found this guy. It's the 8-bit Do Light 2 controller. And it is a controller that's kind of designed to work with the Nintendo Switch, but it works perfectly with an iPad and iPhone. What I was really interested or excited about is it's thin. It is not a bulky controller. It doesn't have like palm rest for it. It's kind of, if you're not watching the video, it's very much like a Super Nintendo controller where it has a D-pad, but it also has 2 analog sticks. It has A, B, Y, X buttons, left and right triggers, left and right shoulder buttons, plus and minus buttons, all sorts of stuff. Works really well. Something that I was really excited about is that you can pair 2 different devices with this. So there is a switch right in the center of it. And what that switch does is it allows you to kind of change the Bluetooth pairing device. So there's an S and a D, and the S stands for switch, and I don't know what D stands for, but even the switch one can be paired with the iPhone. So the S is paired with my iPhone, the D is paired with my iPad, and I can switch between the two. And with Delta, because Delta has you can use either Dropbox or Google Drive for syncing, I can sync my saves back and forth and play games that way. Works really well. This button also has a start button and kind of like a menu button down at the bottom, and the menu button in the bottom right corner actually brings up the menu in Delta. So if you're playing a game in Delta, you can hit that button and you can hit like save state or load state or go back to the main menu. It's really nice. But overall, like, the controller is very responsive. The analog sticks feel really good. It's a bit on the small side, and I have big hands. It's something, it's weird how much I bring it up, but
It is.
I have big hands, but it still works great. Yeah, it is weird, but like, I'll talk about why that's important in just a bit. But I love the feel of this controller. It works great for me. I was playing Super Mario World on it, and like I was, the timing didn't feel off. Like I was able to jump on them Goombas and Koopas and Bowsers and all that. Well, you don't jump on Bowser, but yeah, no, I was able to play games. It felt good. It works really great with like Pokemon games and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, really good. It's super thin. It's super thin and it's super light, so it doesn't add any extra bulk or weight to my already heavy backpack, and that was absolutely key for me. So this just lives in my backpack. I have a couple of other controllers I tried just for like a little bit of feedback, but do you guys have any questions on this one in particular?
I have one very important question.
Yes.
How noisy are the buttons when you press them?
Okay, I'm going to put it right up against the mic. So this is the A button. This is the Y button. Here's the trigger. Here's the sticks. D-pad.
Okay, this is good.
Did you hear any of that?
Barely.
Okay.
This is good. Some
Yeah.
controllers have very clicky sounding.
Yes, like they almost seem hollow, and like there's like an echo. And you and I both have gotten into mechanical keyboards. We know if you open those things up, cover it up in a bunch of like painter's tape or masking tape or something like that, like you'll fix that issue. But no, this I think it benefits from how thin it is, that there isn't a lot of extra room, because it does have a battery. It is a Bluetooth controller. It charges via USB-C. So it doesn't seem hollow. I'm somebody that cannot stand a hollow controller. So like the standard Xbox and PlayStation controllers drive me wild, because they are hollow. The button presses echo. I don't like that. So like on my Xbox, I use the Xbox Elite 2 controller, because it has like this extra weights in there. Like it feels hefty. It might just be the built-in battery, but it feels hefty. There's extra weight in there, and because of that, the buttons don't sound echoey, which is very important to me.
Nice. Agreed. Hugely agreed, actually. Second question. You said you use it with your iPhone as well. How are you propping up your iPhone? Or is it just laying flat? Are you doing like a weird two-handed thing?
Lately, so I just had a sponsor. It was Anchor sponsored me recently, and they sent me an iPhone case, and the iPhone case actually had a built-in stand to it. So that's how I was doing that. But I also have just like, I could just prop it up against something too if need be. But I have mostly been using this with my iPad. It's just one of those things, like if my iPad was dead, or maybe I'm exporting a video on the iPad or something like that, and I can't use the iPad, I could always just jump over to the iPhone.
Gotcha. Nice. It looks good. Looks very switchy. Very.
Yeah. And it comes in colors too. I have the turquoise, bluish, greenish one, and I like it. I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, looks good.
I tried a couple other controllers too. I have the Backbone controller. This is just for the iPhone. This is specifically the USB-C one, but they do have a Lightning one as well. This is really nice because it turns your iPhone into a Nintendo Switch-like device. You just pull it apart, put the phone in there. The controls feel really good. Has basically all the same buttons that the 8-bit Do Lite one does. Triggers, A, B, X, Y, 2 analog sticks, D-pad, all that stuff. But the thing about this one that drives me wild, well, first off, it's not Bluetooth, but you can use it with an iPad because there's a USB-C port on it. So you can actually take the USB-C port and plug it into the iPad and plug it in and use it that way. I did try that. But the USB-C port is mainly meant for pass-through charging, so you can charge your iPhone while playing the game. But the thing that drives me wild about this controller, that just makes me absolutely can't stand it, is there's this dedicated Backbone button on it. And if you hit that, it tries to open the Backbone app. And if you don't have the Backbone app installed, it tries to go to the App Store and get you to download it. And it's right where like the side of my hand, where like my thumb connects to my hand, basically. It's right where that rests. So I'm hitting it all the time. It drives me nuts because, again, I have big hands and I just keep hitting that button all the time. So it's okay. It just takes up too much space in a bag because it's meant to be the Switch-like thing. So it has the space in between the left and right controller side for you to put your iPhone, and it just takes up too much space compared to the 8-bit Do Lite one. If you're watching the video, I'll hold them up together. You can see the 8-bit Do Lite one is significantly smaller because you don't have to put your phone in there. But the nice thing about the Backbone one is it uses it uses the power from your iPhone. So that way you don't have to worry about charging it. Like there's no built-in battery or anything like that. So that is kind of a nice feature. And then the other one that I tried, actually I tried this one first. This was the first controller I ordered right when Apple said, okay, emulators are allowed on the App Store, and it's the 8-bit Do Micro controller. You might have seen this one go around a few months ago, and it's just this really small controller with a D-pad, A, B, X, Y buttons that's like perfect for like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Boy games kind of thing. And it is so small. I actually couldn't find it. I don't have it here in the video stuff. I don't know where it's at because I literally tried it once and I was like, I can't use this. And it probably got thrown in a drawer somewhere and I don't even know. Or I gave it to somebody and I forgot about it. But when I would hold it, I was like doing this like pinching gesture with my thumb and my pointer finger. And I'm like, how is anyone supposed to be able to play with this? It wasn't even reasonable. Maybe for a game like Final Fantasy Tactics, Fire Emblem, Pokemon, where timing isn't important, but a game like Super Mario or Kirby or something like that, where you have to get the timing right for stuff, it's just too small and it just didn't work. And then the last controller I just want to briefly mention, because I talked about this on a previous episode of the show, is my modded GameSir G8 controller, the one where I got a 3D printed extender for it so I can use it with my 13-inch iPad Pro. That's great. It's way too big, especially with that extension in there to travel with. So that just wasn't even something I even considered. It still works great. I play with it around the house, but taking it out of the house it's just too big. So ultimately, like I've settled on this 8-bit Do Lite 2 controller as my traveling video game setup.
I like it. And you're mostly using it for emulators, you said, right?
Yeah, mostly emulators. There are a few like kind of like classic video games and stuff that are on the App Store that work with controllers and stuff like that. But because emulators are new and I've been revisiting a lot of games that I own, before anyone jumps at me, I own these games. I'm not doing the thing like AI companies and going around and stealing stuff. Oh, did I say that out loud?
Show's getting political again.
Yeah. I got so mad last night at something that came out, but we don't have time for that. Yeah, so I've just been mostly playing like emulator games. I've been revisiting a lot of like the old Super Mario World games, and I am going to play some classic Pokemon games, but I am going to save that for a little bit later in the show.
No, this one looks more like a mobile controller I would personally use, especially with the iPad. So, and the price is right. It's like $35.
Yeah, it's not expensive at all. It was one of those things that like I bought the micro controller and that might have been like, I think it's somewhere between like 10 and $20. And I was annoyed it didn't work, but I was like, okay, it wasn't that much money I wasted on it. And then I was like, I saw that this one was a little bit bigger, had the analog sticks, and I was like, okay, I'll just take a chance on that. And it works out great. I absolutely love it. So yeah. Neleon, what do you have for us this week?
Yeah, so this week I am perverting the concept of this show.
Uh-oh.
And I picked something that will put us back into our comfort zone.
Uh-oh. Ooh.
Yeah, so it's a short and sweet pick. It's a small game on iOS that I really love, and it's called Disc Brick. There's not much to say about it. It's one of those games where you've got a launcher. You launch a ball at the bottom of the screen, and you have to break bricks on the screen. But it's done in a way that's really satisfying, and I think that's the special sauce that this game has. It uses the haptics on the iPhone, and it's so satisfying, guys. I think, Chris especially, you're going to love it because you're autistic. And this is great. Each brick has a number on it, and you've got to break them down to 0. And once your board is filled with bricks, you lose, and that's it. And the game is free. You can pay a small amount. I don't remember what it was. I didn't write it down. You can pay a small amount to unlock 2 bonus maps and 2 special bonuses that you can break on the board as you go along the game. But that's it. 90% of the game is completely free, and you can play this game in an unlimited way, and it's really satisfying. Please try to play the game and keep the haptics on, because at first it's a bit jarring because there's a lot of haptics happening.
Okay.
Every time the ball hits the wall, hits a brick, the phone vibrates, and it's a bit weird at first. But then as you play along the game, it gets really satisfying. Because I didn't mention as well, every time you complete a launch, you unlock a new disc. So the further you go, the more discs you launch at once. So after 100 launches, you may launch more than 100 discs at once, and it becomes super satisfying. Your phone goes boop, 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 boop. It's really cool. That's it, short and sweet. Really like this game. It's free, almost completely free, and really satisfying.
I might have just downloaded it and I'm playing it right now. It is incredibly satisfying. The haptics feel amazing. I'm really enjoying this game. Yeah,
We're gonna lose Chris. We're gonna lose him.
It's one of those games that couldn't be as good on Android, because most Android devices don't have a Taptic engine that's as good as the iPhones, except maybe the Pixels. I think the Pixels have pretty good haptic engine. Yeah.
This is totally the kind of game that I could start playing, and there goes my entire afternoon. ADHD for the win, people.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it's very satisfying. I literally just had to lock my phone and put it down on the other side of the desk so I wouldn't keep playing with it. Yeah, that is very satisfying.
Keep me up with your high scores.
Yeah, I will. Does it have a Game Center integration?
Maybe. I'm not sure, actually.
We'll look into that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've added you on Game Center or not, but I mean, to be fair, does anyone ever add anyone on Game Center?
Nah.
I haven't added anyone in 15 years.
Remember the Greenfield?
That was awesome. You know what? At the time, I was very excited when skeuomorphism was going away, but now I kind of miss it. It's like the
grass is always greener.
You don't know what you're missing out on, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
Should we bring Scott Forstall back? I don't think so.
Onto the podcast? Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Yeah. No. And all I want to talk to him about is the musicals he's working on. That's it. You guys know about that, right?
Sure.
Yes.
No, I don't.
Yeah. He just works on Broadway now. That's it.
Oh, damn. Okay.
He doesn't do anything with tech anymore. He works on Broadway. He does musicals and theater.
Oh, that's a fun fact.
So we'll bring him on, but that's all we're going to talk to him about. We won't even mention the iPod or anything like that.
All right. That was it for me.
Wow.
Are we into challenge talk?
Is it challenge?
I think it is.
Challenge.
I hear that's how they're going to open the Olympics. People screaming. Challenge.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I honestly forgot the Olympics were this week until I was reminded when I did Magic Rays of Light. Simon reminded me, and he asked me if I was going to watch it, and I was like, forgot it was even on. So,
oh man,
yep, sorry.
I am never more patriotic than during the Olympics.
Believe me, if you're in my place, you can't not know about it.
Yeah,
I'm sure
it's probably.
And you're not even in Paris either.
I'm not even in Paris.
Yeah, that's wild.
I forgot to mention that last week when we talked about the Vision Pro. When I went to the Apple Store in Paris, yeah, you cannot not know. You're overflown with Paris 2024 written everywhere you go. So yeah,
People swimming in the Thames.
yeah, sure.
This is all
in
I
the
know.
Thames. Yeah, sure.
I think that's the wrong country. Matt.
Yeah,
No,
That's
wait.
okay.
What
Thames
river is it?
Thames is in England.
What's the big river in Paris?
Seine.
The Seine. Oh boy. Oh boy.
And that would be
Well-
at Matt Birchler, ladies
Yep.
and gentlemen.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is the most American thing I could possibly do.
Mention Matt on social media and blame him. Yeah.
Do not email Chris. Do not email Neeleon. Email Matt.
Oh my god.
All right,
So
challenge.
shameful.
Challenge, yes.
Challenge.
Challenge.
Let's move on.
Neeleon,
How-
it was your challenge
Oh.
this week. Neeleon, it was your
Yeah.
challenge this week. What did you have us do?
All right, I wanted us to dig up an old piece of tech and try to revive it. Who wants to go first?
I mean, I can go first because mine, I definitely did not win this week. I'm a little disappointed.
no.
I did I tried to do 3 different things. So the first thing I did was I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I have the very first gen iPad in my closet here, and I have the you guys remember the dock with the keyboard, the Magic Keyboard that was actually attached to it. It was the vertical dock.
Yeah.
And I had the keyboard attached. I have that here too. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna like talk about how I wrote an entire script using this first gen iPad, and I couldn't even get it to turn on, and did a bunch of searching, and the thing that it seems like it's one of 2 things. It could be the battery is just completely dead, or it could be like the logic board and all that stuff, but. So I looked into it, but to fix it, it was going to go a little bit. I want to say a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but that's the whole point of the podcast. But it was a little bit out of my depth as far as like repairing it, because you are going to have to take the screen apart and all that stuff, and there's glue, and I was just like, this is beyond my skill set. So I was like, okay, there's another piece of tech I have here that I really wanted to try and revive, and that is my Nintendo 64. It's my original one from when I was a kid, but I think the power supply in it is going bad because it doesn't stay on all the time. Everything else works. The controllers works, all the cartridges work, everything works fine, but you can play it, but after some time between like 15 and 30 minutes, it just shuts off. So I was like, okay. So I went and found the parts. Basically, I just ordered another Nintendo 64, it seems like, but without the case. And I was going to swap everything around, but those parts didn't get here in time. So spiritually, I tried, but that one didn't work. So what I ended up settling on was I have my original Pokemon Red Game Boy cartridge. From the, what 90s? 97, something like that when that came out?
96, 97, somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. So the cartridge itself still works fine. The issue with it is those original Game Boy cartridges have a battery in them for their save state. And basically all the batteries in those old Game Boy cartridges have gone bad now, just the nature of batteries. So I opened it up, found a guide online, opened it up, replaced the battery, and it works fine. I'm able to save my Pokemon Red game now. I was playing a little bit on my Analog Pocket with it, and it was really fun revisiting it. Oh boy, has the original Pokemon game not aged well. Like, the sprites don't look great. Like, there's like little quality of life things that have changed. Even if you go back and play like Fire Red is the remake of the original Red game, and it just has all those quality of life improvements, like, oh, hey, yeah, here's a little symbol showing that you've caught this wild Pokemon before. Just like little quality of life stuff like that. That's nice. But it was very nostalgic to revisit that game because I put a lot of hours into it. But yeah, so that's kind of what I did. I doubt I won this week, which is a bummer because I wanted to win. But yeah, I think hopefully I fulfilled the spirit of the challenge.
Yeah, I think you did.
You did.
Cool.
You went for it. I will say I agree. I have an Analog Pocket as well to play my old Game Boy Advance games is all I've played on it. But those batteries are still surviving, and I've been able to like pick up. I've got Golden Sun plugged in here now. I was able to pick up my save from 20 years ago, which was a really religious experience. It was really something special to like zip back to that point in my life and just have like the same like party, the same stats and everything like where I was. So that was very, very cool. So if you have an opportunity to play your old cartridges, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, the bummer thing about the batteries going dead is you lose your save state.
Yeah.
So I lost my original Pokemon Red save. So my original Charizard is...
Oh, well, that's just a chance to choose a new starter.
Then it becomes a speedrun machine.
Yeah. Yeah, but I have a new Charizard now. I have a new Charizard. I don't know how I feel about this new Charizard, though. My biggest pride and joy when it comes to Pokemon, I have a shiny Charizard that I hatched myself with perfect IVs. That is my pride and joy in like the current Pokemon games. Is my shiny Charizard that I hatched myself.
I need to tell you something.
Uh-oh. Is this gonna be like my Daft Punk?
Not at all. Yeah, the thing is, I don't like Pokemon. I like Pokemon.
That's
exactly the same
worse
thing. It's exactly the
worse.
same.
That is worse. That is absolutely worse.
I think it's better, but yeah.
No.
I think it's allowed not to like Pokemon, whereas it's illegal not to like Daft Punk. See, there's a difference.
Wow. I didn't realize we were living into authoritarian dictatorship environment now.
It's the rules of the challenge.
All right, so I had similar pain that you experienced. So I was like, oh, this is a great thing. This is a great opportunity for me to try and use an iPod and see that experience again. And I conveniently have 3 iPods. If you're watching the video, you can see them here. I've got a 5th generation. I can't tell if this is the one that does video or if it only does photos. And I can't tell because it will not power up. So the battery seems borked on this one. Also, all these have the 30-pin dock connector. This connector sucked. It is so bad. I am so angry at every time I have to plug something in, or it's everything bad in a connector. So I'll see.
Remember how upset people got too when that went away? Like that whole controversy. I'm like, this is dumb. Lightning at the time, Lightning was just such a much better connector. I'm like, I don't get why everyone's upset.
Were people upset?
Oh my god, people were furious.
I was in school. I don't remember that time.
Adults were angry.
Okay.
Like they were getting to the point where they had a bunch of like 30-pin accessories. Like I had one of those alarm clocks that you could dock your iPod on top of and it would play music through, and it had a 30-pin. And it had like, it came with a bunch of different adapters, so like any size iPod would fit it and stuff like that. But yeah, people were absolutely furious about that. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. You could plug the cable in 2 different ways, like both ways. It doesn't matter which way it goes in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, that can burn forever. Then I tried the 4th generation iPod Classic kind of line. This was actually the first iPod I bought myself with my own money from a job that I had right before I went to college. And I love this iPod. It's got so much emotional connection to me. This one turns on. My computer doesn't know what it is. So I couldn't do anything with this one.
Oh.
But I didn't lose all hope. I also had the 2nd generation iPod Mini in kind of a turquoisey, bluish.
Oh, I remember that one.
And this is not my favorite iPod, but in 2024, it is the only one that macOS Sequoia recognizes and syncs properly with. So this is the one I used for my test. And I like it. My phone's better, but I do still like this. It does still feel good to use something so small and so colorful from Apple. Like really bold colors are refreshing to see. And yeah, I just love the click wheel. The click wheel instantly like comes back as intuitive. I kind of forgot how bad the screen was. The screen is atrocious. It's black and white, and like it's the refresh rate is so low, and like the frame persistence or whatever it would be on this sort of screen is like everything's smeary and it's hard to see as you scroll. Like, but all that aside, it is satisfying to use. And I think it's incredible that this thing that's like 20 years old now, something around there, still works with the current version, the newest, like the still in beta version of macOS Sonoma. Like I was able to add podcasts and music onto this, and it's super slow. It's a very, very slow USB connection over the worst cable connector in the world, but it works. And I was able to listen to last week's episode of our podcast on it, which was very surreal to be able to do.
Such a hipster move. I only
know.
listen to podcasts on my iPod when I manually sync it with iTunes.
Yeah. So, yeah, it doesn't have wireless. So I had to find some old earbuds or earpods to plug in. This one's old enough that apparently the like the connector thing or the remote on the earbud, like in the middle of the earbud wire, doesn't work. So you can't play pause and skip to the next track. You have to actually take it out of your pocket to do that. That's kind of annoying. But I did have a quick quiz for you guys on this, because it's probably been a long time since you've used an iPod, an old iPod, not an iPod Touch, nothing like that. And I want to see how much you remember about old iPods. So,
Oh, that's unfair.
I love this.
I was a child.
did you ever have an iPod before the iPod Touch?
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay.
I still got it.
Game
on my
on.
desk right now.
Kids remember everything.
I haven't used one in years. I haven't touched one in years. I think totally game on. Let's do this.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So just shout it out when you think you've got it.
Okay.
How do you turn on the backlight on an iPod Classic or Mini?
What? I've never used one that doesn't have one.
Don't you just touch the touch wheel?
No, there is, I think, an option to do that. But if you don't have it automatically turn on, how do you turn on?
Click the setting button.
Oh, don't you have to? You have to press the top button, right?
What button would that be?
I don't know what it's called. Is it menu?
Menu, yes. You hold the menu button down for a few seconds,
I'm
and
so lost.
just a backlight comes on. Okay, that's fine. How do you turn off the screen?
There's a lock switch.
No.
No.
Isn't there?
There's a lock switch. It just locks the screen on. Though.
It
So
doesn't
how do
turn
you
it
do
off.
it?
you hold the top button in the click wheel for like 3 seconds
Oh, you're so close.
or 5 seconds or something.
I
No.
have no idea.
Oh boy.
I don't remember.
So
I thought it was that.
So this all comes back to you once you have one in your hand. You hold down the play pause for like 3
oh,
seconds.
that's what it is. Okay.
I think you can get into like recovery mode by like holding down play pause and then menu and then release it. Like there's some combo you do. to
yeah,
get into,
I
like, restore
vaguely
mode.
remember that.
Also, there is zero security on these things. This was actually my dad's, and it said like when I plugged it in, it said my dad's name, his iPod. I just restored it. There was no protection. It was easy.
Weren't you able to use a pin? Am I misremembering that?
I don't. If you were, nobody did it because I had 2 iPods with the click wheel. So I had the very first iPod Nano, love that thing, and then I had the very first iPod Video, and that was my all-time favorite iPod. Both of those got stolen out of my backpack. Those were like the easiest things in the world to steal and wipe and sell on a black market, essentially, or out of a backpack in a high school. If you're the person that stole mine, I know exactly who you are.
Yeah, it's me, Chris.
Yep, it was Neilion.
Yeah,
Wow.
I fled to France.
That would have been about 2005, 2006.
Yeah, checks out.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Shocking. Okay. 2 more questions. There are a few extra apps on this device beyond music playing. Is it a calendar or a calculator?
Calendar.
I have
Yeah.
no idea.
You got to pick one.
It's a calendar. I win.
It's a
right?
calendar.
Yeah,
Yes.
there you
I
go.
remember because I synced my calendar with it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm in high school. I don't really have anything. Like I don't put anything in a calendar. Like I didn't have anything, but I definitely remember opening up the calendar app on it.
It is atrocious. Maybe
It's
there was a
bad.
better way to sync back in the day, but as far as I can tell, the only way to do it today is to export your calendar from as an ICS file, and then you drag that into the hard drive portion.
Yeah, they don't sync. It doesn't go. Yeah, it doesn't sync back and forth.
Life was slower back then. You didn't have meetings going on and off all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing. Can you name any of the games that came pre-installed on these black and white
Oh my god.
screen
Snake.
iPods?
Snake.
This one doesn't have Snake.
Oh,
I don't think they had Snake.
I remember there was a brick breaking game, a circular breaking game.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, very very similar to the game you just recommended.
Yeah.
Actually.
I was thinking of BlackBerry. That's why I had Snake on my BlackBerry. Yeah, the only game that I really remember is the Texas Hold'em game with Phil Schiller in it. That's the only game I really remember.
Oh man. Okay, so there's a brick breaker game. There's solitaire. There's a parachute game where you're just kind of moving a guy left and right, and then there's music quiz, which is actually pretty cool. Where it'll play a little bit of a song, and you have to guess what song it is, which is pretty.
I remember
cool.
someone, was it for Automation April on Mac Stories or something like that? Someone rebuilt music quiz with shortcuts.
Ooh.
Oh, I
think
that's
so.
awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it for the iPods. I was successful on one of the three, and I will probably just go back to using my iPhone. But really, really cool device.
Yeah, my dream Apple product that I know Apple will never, ever, 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 ever make. I mean, obviously, like I would love a foldable iPad or something like that, but that's actually possible that they can make that one day. But my dream Apple product is bring back like the classic iPod video form factor and make it nice. Put a Retina display in it. Let it sync with Apple Music, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, AirPods support, stuff like that. I would go wild for that. I would give you all my money, Apple, but they'll never make that.
Yeah, we need analog to do it. I feel like that's what they do with their retro game things.
No one will buy it either.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would buy it because why would you carry around a separate device for music now when you can have all your music on your phone or even your watch too? All right, Neelion, what do you got for us this week?
All right. So I was looking at my pile of old things in the living room. And there's a bunch of stuff there, but I think I picked the most interesting one, I hope. So I said this 2 weeks ago. I used to be a contributor to Firefox OS a long time ago. Firefox OS is a defunct operating system for mobile devices that was developed by Mozilla. So Mozilla, who makes the Firefox browser, of course. And Firefox OS was a weird thing. It was meant to be a competitor to Android and run on low-cost devices. And it was entirely based on web technologies. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript, the stuff that makes web pages possible. But imagine this, but for the entire OS. So the entire interface is made with this stuff. Is made like a fancy web page, basically. Yeah. So there have been a bunch of Firefox OS devices that were released in a bunch of markets. Most were pretty bad because they were so low spec that they really didn't run well. And because this was a bet to make an entire OS run on web technologies, and you had to have
this whole thing started off as a bet, like somebody just challenged another person.
No, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
a corporate gamble.
Yeah, a gamble. That's the translation.
Okay. I literally thought you meant like somebody like at lunch was like, "Hey, Steve, can you make a whole OS off web technologies?"
Yeah, just drunk at a bar on a Saturday night.
Yeah, a gamble. Yeah, sorry. It's both are the same words in French. So yeah, and that didn't go well because the OS didn't run well on those devices. But anyway, at some point, Mozilla tried to started working on a tablet version of this OS. And to that end, they started building a tablet. So they started building the hardware in partnership with Foxconn at the time. And that tablet was never released. But it was distributed to a selection of developers around the world and to a bunch of contributors who were working on Firefox OS like I was. So there I am. I still have this Firefox OS tablet that was never released.
Nice.
On my shelf in the living room, picking up dust. So I was trying to check if it still turns on. And if you're looking at the video right now, you may see that it does turn on.
Nice.
And it looks really bad. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to, while describing it for our audio listeners whom we love, I will turn it around 360. So on the back, see, it's called In Focus for some reason. I don't know if that was the name that it was going to be called. In Focus on the back. There's a Firefox OS contribution program sticker. And and there's a really small camera. It's like a dot on the back. And on the front, you've got a front-facing camera as well, really small as well. Oh my, this screen is very reflective. Like I can look at myself right now in the screen. Anyway, and yeah, this OS is really hard to revisit today because it makes me remember that I used to work on this for hours at a time, and the end result is not good. I prepared in advance and loaded up a bunch of websites on this tablet because they take forever to load. So hopefully they're still in cache. So if I swipe here, that's birchtree.me right now on this tablet.
Ooh. And
It's
loads.
very broken. The logo is a blue rectangle.
Matt, why isn't birchtree.me supporting Firefox OS? What this is anti-competitive behavior, and I'm going to make sure the Senate hears about this.
We'll get the EU Commission on this. Yeah, that's not good.
I actually know exactly why it looks that way on that
Oh, you
browser.
do?
But yeah, because I'm using some trickery that every modern browser knows how to do. But
There you go. I'm exposing you. I've got another website loaded here, and that's macstories.net. So on macstories.net, a weird thing is the images are not loading. I'm suspecting an SSL issue with the CDN that MacStories uses.
probably.
But the MacStories logo is there. So, yeah.
And is it a box or is it?
It's a good logo. It's a good-looking logo.
All right,
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well done, Mac Stories.
MacStories better than birchtree.me.
I mean, you're putting me in an impossible spot on the Mac Stories podcast. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. There's not much to say about this thing except that it came out in 2014. So it's now, came out. No, it went out to those who got it in 2014. So it's a 10-year-old device.
So this seems like the kind of thing, if I remember my timelines right, that's a little after Chromebooks came out. So like, was this kind of pitched to take on Chromebooks?
Maybe. I think at the time it was mostly pitched as an alternative to Android tablets that were taking off. Cheap Android tablets, because this was meant to be cheap.
Oh, okay.
Really cheap. Yeah. And you can tell. Obviously, we're looking at it 10 years later, but I think even in 2014, that was really, really cheap. The touch screen, there's a latency to everything you touch.
Ooh.
Yeah, it just crashed. So, yeah,
After we're done recording, you'll have to send photos to me and Matt and let us know if we can put like links or something in the show notes for the audio listeners, because I want to see this thing. For those that are watching, we turn off the video feed so we don't like.
Yeah, I'll take some photos.
Yeah, we want the audio listeners to have just a good experience, but so we turn off the video feed between us.
To describe very shortly the UI, how it's like. So the home screen has a bunch of big round icons. And like I told you, every app on this OS is a web app. So even if you tap the browser icon, you're actually opening a web app.
What?
That opens web pages.
Oh, that's wild.
Right?
That is a hat on a hat.
Exactly. This entire web browser interface that you're looking at right now is a web app that opens web pages. That's awesome. Everywhere in UI. So if I go back, I'm going to settings. I'm going to go somewhere where there's no Wi-Fi networks visible. There you go. And I'm doing this while going back into the Wi-Fi menu, so that doesn't work. So there you go. So this, even if you go into the settings app is a web app. And everywhere in the OS, you can access a search field, an address field that's accessible at the top of the screen, everywhere in the OS. So basically, you've got an address field readily available anywhere you are on the OS. So that was a concept, right?
Yeah, it's kind of, it is very, in a world of Electron apps where so many apps are technically web apps, and like I'm thinking about Chrome, like you go to the settings in Chrome and in your address bar, it's like Chrome : / settings or something like that. And like everything's a URL there. So it's like, that's just taken to the extreme where everything on your device is. Yeah. It's just very weird to me to have like an address bar at the top of every page. That's so strange.
That would be wild. But too bad something like this didn't see the light of day. Like I don't know if it would have been able to take on Android tablets, but Android tablets kind of did themselves in, like But even Android people, like back in the day when, like the Android versus iPhone wars were at their hottest, even I knew a few Android people that would admit, like, yeah, Android tablets aren't good. Like, just go get an iPad. But, yeah, no, that's pretty cool. On Neleon, I think you win this week. I think you win the challenge.
There you go.
Matt and I had, we fell short on a couple of tries, but bringing prototype hardware that was never released, I think that qualifies as a win.
I tried so hard too. I brought a quiz. We had some fun. I tried multiple devices. I thought I had it in the bag.
Your quiz was great, but the challenge wasn't bring a quiz.
Oh my God.
But speaking of, unless you guys have anything more on Neleon's before we move on?
One last thing, I was showing to the camera the quality of the camera of the tablet.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess
something.
Guess like what, 4 megapixel camera or something like that.
I have no idea. It's really hard. Unsurprisingly, it's really hard to find any specs about this device. But yeah.
How dare Firefox not release a full product page on an unreleased hardware? Do they not care about the open web? That's moving on from that. Hey, Matt, guess what?
It's time for me to give a challenge.
It is. What do you got for us?
Ooh.
Okay. So my challenge is a fun one, and it's very specific. So there are daily games, right? Ever since like Wordle popped onto the scene however many years ago, daily games are like a thing. There's a whole bunch of places you can play like a game that's like just a few minutes every single day, and there's a new one. What I would like us all to do is play a couple of them. Ideally, try to find one that you haven't played before, but you can play ones that you already enjoy or know you enjoy. And for next week, I want all of us to bring 2 daily games back. One that's your personal pick for like, this is my favorite daily game. I want to play this forever. I love it. And the second one is the competition. This one is what you think is the most universally adored, popular, the most people would like this game. And we're going to vote on which one is actually the official Comfort Zone recommendation for daily game to play.
I like that. So not like bringing Wordle because that's the most popular.
I would say Wordle is the one game that is not allowed.
Okay. All right, cool.
So we're thinking that kind of games, though, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So it could be as short as possible. Like some examples, I know the Grindstone has daily challenges. That's an Apple Arcade game. There's Puzzmo, which has a bunch of daily games. New York Times has a bunch of daily games. Basically, every news place has daily games now. So the only requirement is that every day there's one game and you kind of get one shot at it, and then the next day there's another one.
Okay.
You're supposed to come back every day.
So that just about does it for us this week. Wrap up. I have our dating game question for us here. I think this one is pretty appropriate for considering we're all in different regions. Well, mostly Neilion's different from me and Matt as far as countries go. But this question is, what's your favorite film from a different culture or language? Neilion, we'll have you go first.
All right. That's always my pick when I'm asked this question. Although, yeah. Anyway, that's the Sigur Rós film, Heima.
Okay.
Yeah. Really beautiful.
I don't think I've ever seen it. Matt, what about you?
Oh, there's a lot. The one that probably hit me the hardest when I originally watched it, and I haven't watched it in a long time, is the movie City of God, which came out in the early 2000s and just really, really blew me away.
Mm-hmm. Can you repeat the question, by the way?
What's your favorite film from a different culture or language?
Oh, okay. So the way that's written, I can answer Star Wars.
Yes, you can answer Star Wars if you want. Yeah, you totally can. Yeah, Neilion kind of got it easy for us. So for me, I would. It comes down to 2, and it just depends on the mood I'm in. I love Pan's Labyrinth. Great movie, but I'm also from Fresno in California. Culturally, not that different, to be honest. I'm not from Mexico. I'm not Mexican, but not that different culturally. So if I had to pick something that was a little different, I would pick the Toho Godzilla movies, the classic Godzilla movies. Ooh. I loved those as a kid. I've seen probably every single one of them, a few of them multiple times. Love those. You know what movie I still haven't had a chance to see, though? Godzilla -1. It is on my list. I think I'm going to watch it tonight because it's not something like Godzilla movies in general are not something my girlfriend she's not going to want to watch Godzilla movies. So I still haven't seen the new Godzilla and Kong movie. So like I've kind of been waiting for her to be busy one night, and she's actually not going to be home tonight. So I am going to probably watch the new Godzilla and Kong movie and Godzilla -1 as well. So yeah, that's kind of my pick right there.
Nice.
So
those are good picks.
Thank you. So that just about does it for the show this week. Thank you all so much for listening, and a special thanks to Mac Stories for having us. We're a Mac Stories podcast after all. You can go find all the other Mac Stories podcasts like App Stories, Magic Rays of Light, MPC, and all that stuff. So thank you for having us, and thank you all for listening, and have a great week. Everyone say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.